My name is Eric Iguchi. I am currently the board chair for Pathways of Hope, and I've been involved with the organization for over 10 years now.
My name is Tom Pankow. I joined the organization as a volunteer in 2011. I was kind of finance director, treasurer until about 2021. And then I was chairman of the board for 3 years, and then I retired.
My name is Tim Carey. I'm on the board of Pathways of Hope. My affiliation with Pathways of Hope goes back many, many years. Involved as a 15-year-old, watching my mother, Fran Carey, be a part of the original FIES organization, which is the predecessor to Pathways of Hope.
Bill McGarvey III, and I've been hanging out at Pathways for 40 years now.
My name is Doug Chafee. I'm currently chair of the Orange County Board of Supervisors and 4th District Representative. I think involvement goes back about 35 years.
My name is Barbara Jennings, and I have been involved with Pathways of Hope since about 1998. I was secretary of the board for a while and president of the board for a while.
My mom, Fran Carey, was involved with Pathways of Hope right at the beginnings. I'll call it the humble beginnings, when they actually were working with other churches to provide families that needed meals and things of that nature.
I heard about Pathways of Hope because I'm involved in the real estate industry, and the more I looked into it, the more interested I got in what they did for the community in North Orange County.
My very earliest would be Jerry Brown knocking at my door, coming in 40 years ago and telling me about this Fullerton Interfaith Emergency Services. From that point on, he was a good spokesman. I was sold.
Well, my mother was one of the people on the founding enterprise, as we called FIES, Fullerton Interfaith Emergency Service, which is a consortium at more than 20 churches. I remember my mother saying, well, they might need some legal help. I said, okay, what do they need? Well, they'll find out from time to time, but don't you dare send them a bill. So for over 20 years, I was legal counsel, I did a number of things. I researched the change of name from FIES to Pathways of Hope. When I researched that, I found like 6 organizations around the world that were using the name Pathways of Hope. A very popular choice, but none around here. So the board decided to go with that name.
So Barb Jennings called me, and Barb asked me if I would come on to the board and take over the finances. And that was in 2011. I learned that to really make more of an impact in the community, the organization had to change to more of a community-based focus.
My original involvement with Pathways of Hope was after my mom passed away. I felt like I haven't done enough to give back. So one of the things I wanted to do and appreciative was to join Pathways of Hope and try to give back to people that are in need, also to help deal with homelessness within where I grew up in Fullerton, California.
I followed this organization for 40 years, and what it has become today is more than I could ever imagined.
What I've always enjoyed about Pathways was the dedication of the people. They always focused on the mission, they were excited about working, they didn't just come for the paycheck, and I think that really inspired me and inspired a lot of other people.
It's become a fiscally sound organization with an incredible foundation to build off on. And right now we're, I believe, transitioning into an organization that will become one of the most influential groups from a national perspective as well.
Incredibly proud of what Pathways of Hope has become today. I feel like the development as the organization since I've been a part of it has been incredible. And I can only see the great opportunities going forward with what Pathways of Hope can become in the future.
I got a call from Barbara Johnson that said, Barbara, would you consider being on the Pathways board? Okay, sure. I went to my very first board meeting, and before the meeting started, Barbara looked around and she said, oh, our secretary isn't here today because she's sick. And she goes, will somebody like to take notes today? Barbara Johnson catches my eyes with those big blue eyes, and she said, "Barbara Jennings, would you like to take notes today?" Well, you can't tell Barbara Johnson no. And so I had to go to Barbara the next day and say, okay, I took all these notes, but here's a CBDG, here's an ESG, here's an EHAP CD, and my favorite one was a supernova, what I thought was supernova. And she goes, oh, no, Barbara, that's supernova, not NOVA, NOFA. That means Notice of Funding Availability. Third meeting, it turns out that the secretary had health problems and she had to resign from the board. I ended up as secretary of the board and then ultimately as president of the board. 4 or 5 years that Barbara Johnson was executive director and I was secretary president in there, we overlapped, and I got to understand very quickly what Barbara Johnson's personal mission was to love mercy, act justly, and walk hand in hand with the Lord. Whatever was poured into Barbara flowed freely through her out into others. I also think she understood that not only were the challenges of food insecurity and housing instability, those problems weren't just Pathways problems to solve. They were community problems to solve. So that Pathways really was a vessel for all of these community groups to come through and address the challenges that were placed before them. Love the fact that Barbara Johnson, for the first 30 years of Pathways, now 50 years of experience, Barbara was there in the leadership. And so I just want to give a shout out to Barbara and a congratulations for almost a century of faithful impact that she gave not only to Pathways of Hope, but to the entire North Orange County community.
My name is Barbara W. Johnson, and I've been with Pathways of Hope since the early 70s, when my family moved here to Fullerton and have been in the same house ever since. My positions with the organization have been from the beginning a volunteer to bring groceries on our first hunger programs that we established. And what really spurred our growth was that we had hungry and sometimes homeless people going from church to church to seek help. Often, each church would try to help that family, but then the next family that came along, there was no help left for them. So a wonderful person who worked for the city of Fullerton, Alex Smith, came to the Ministerial Association and asked if there couldn't be some way we could all cooperate and take turns in providing for them. Because I was active with the churches, with my husband being a pastor here of the Congregational Church, and he was very supportive also of taking it to the ministers and say, could we work out something? And from that, we had wonderful cooperation, and I attribute that basically to our success, early success and later success, that we worked with all the faith communities. Oh, I first became involved, I think, after families came to our congregation, and I said I would be on the volunteer team to try to figure out a way to bring groceries to hungry folks, and that I would bring our VW bus filled with groceries, and whatever faith community was on duty that month would say, yes, watch for Barbara Johnson in her VW bus, meet her at the Alpha Beta Market, and she will have groceries for you. So we worked that into a much better feeling of helping people when we started taking turns and figuring out how to do it, and then gradually worked on something so that we could have an overnight worked out arrangement with the police department so that they would give out our overnight vouchers that we'd pay for families. We said there'll never be a family with a child that will not have overnight, a bed to sleep in. That was my early commitment, and those of others. Always be open to the needs of those who had needed basics, housing and food. I think what thrilled me most is when we would interview the families that came to New Vista, and then if we could really help them find a job, and when they would save and be able to save up enough to leave and have housing. And also how we could link the family. They were building community while they were living at New Vista, and some of them would be able to work out a shared housing arrangement when they moved, and that was thrilling to me. I guess seeing that happen several times kind of brought me a lot of satisfaction. To see that someone moved out, had gained skills, especially someone who gained skills as a roofer. That skill, a woman who had done that and then was able to move out and support her family. Oh, I can't believe how everything has compounded. Everything that we hoped for in the beginning has just mushroomed. And as I say, I can't not believe it when you tell me the budget now compared to all those years of beginning, as Fran Carey said, on the $2,000 a year. And that's unbelievable when I think of opening it up and, maybe we'd see 2 families and then, but of course it was always popular ever since the day we opened, and that every afternoon between 2 and 4, people could come. There were always people at the door every time you came after lunch to open up the hub. And it's nice it became the hub. We called it the distribution center. That wasn't nearly as exciting as it is right now. One time when somebody asked me, I feel, I have my 5 children, but I feel like 5 was my baby too. And I feel like a proud parent. That's how I feel when I've seen all the things that have developed and how many more people we've helped, and it just blows me away with the satisfaction of a proud parent. And my hope is always, of course, that we would always be on the growing edge, always be open to new needs as we see new needs, and the whole shift toward supportive housing. I've loved the way we've embraced it, and I want us always to be open to where people's needs are and to show compassion. And I know I always share this with people, that even though, we had I remember writing, signing my name, there'd be no proselytizing in any of our grants, and I think, we had a reputation for that. We were very much for separation of church and state, but at the same time, we were all guided by our faith. And I always say that, and I always share with people that my faith and belief in compassion is based on the Old Testament, Micah 6:8, which is, the Lord requires us to act justly, be kind, and walk humbly.